You know, there's a war being fought across India every single day. But it's not with soldiers and tanks. It's a war fought with things like insecticide sprays, tiny diagnostic kits, and an army of community volunteers. And their enemy? Invisible invaders that cause sickness on a massive scale. So today we're diving into the battle plan, the story of the National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program, or the NVBDCP.
And this isn't a battle on just one front. Oh no. The NVBDCP is waging a war against count 'em, 6 different and dangerous diseases all at the same time. We're talking about the ancient plague of malaria, the disabling filariasia, the deadly Kala-Azar, the terrifying Japanese encephalitis, and of course the 2 fevers that always seem to be in the news, dengue and chikungunya. Just try to imagine fighting 6 different enemies at once. That's the staggering challenge right at the heart of this program.
So what on earth connects all these different diseases? It's not the virus or the parasite itself, it's the delivery system, the carrier, the vector. For 5 of these diseases, the common enemy is the mosquito. And for one, the deadly Kala-Azar, it's the tiny, almost invisible sandfly. And that one fact, it changes everything. It means the real battlefield isn't just in hospitals and clinics. It's in our own backyards. It's in any little bit of standing water. It's in the very air we breathe.
Okay, so let's get into our first section, the challenge, a 6-front disease war. And we're going to look at why this is just so incredibly complex to get under control.
To really get this, you have to understand that these outbreaks aren't just bad luck. They're like a perfect storm of different factors all coming together. You've got the ecological side of things, right? Like a heavy monsoon season that creates countless new breeding grounds for mosquitoes. Then there's the biological factor, just the sheer number of mosquitoes packed into one area. But here's the clincher, the social and economic factors. Things like poverty or the type of housing people live in can make an entire community so much more vulnerable. A single strategy just won't work. It's doomed from the start.
So how do you fight a war on so many fronts? Well, that brings us to Section 2. The battle plan. We're going to introduce the NVBDCP's core 3-pronged strategy.
The national strategy is brilliant because it attacks the problem from 3 directions all at once. First, disease management. That means finding every single case as early as you can and treating it effectively. Second, integrated vector management. This is where you go after the carriers themselves. We're talking everything from targeted chemical spraying to, and I love this, using special fish that actually eat mosquito larvae. And the third pillar, supportive intervention. This is about empowering people, changing behaviors through education, training local health workers, and funding the research to stay one step ahead of the enemy.
All right, let's really dig into this with a case study. Section 3, Conquering Malaria. We're going to see how the mission shifted from just basic control to an all-out effort for total elimination. Now, the war on malaria, it's been a long one. It started way back in 1953 with a basic control program. But the strategy has gotten so much smarter over time. A massive leap forward came in 2005 with the introduction of rapid diagnostic tests, or RDTs. Suddenly, you could get a test result in minutes, right there in a village, no lab required. That technology was a total game changer, and it's what set the stage for 2016 when India launched its most ambitious plan ever, the National Framework for Malaria Elimination. So who are these frontline soldiers in this war? Well, in villages all across the country, it's the ASHA worker. An ASHA is a trained female health volunteer from the community itself. And that's key. She is the absolute vital link between the people and the public health system. They're the ones going door to door with those rapid tests, making sure people get their medicine and ensuring nobody falls through the cracks. They're the eyes, the ears, and the hands of this entire mission on the ground.
Okay, Section 4, the end game. Let's go inside the ambitious 2016 to 2030 plan to get to 0 malaria.
Here is the absolute genius of this plan. It doesn't treat the entire country the same way. States are put into categories based on something called the Annual Parasite Incidence, or API. That's just the number of positive cases per 1,000 people. So, if your state has a really high number of cases, you're in Category 3. And the focus is on intense control. But as you succeed and the cases drop, you move down to Category 2,
pre-elimination. And then finally, Category 1, elimination, where the goal is to hunt down and stamp out every last case.
In this chart, it really visualizes the true scale of what they were up against. When the plan launched, you had 15 states that were in a pretty good spot in Category 1, but you had another 21 states in those tougher, higher burden categories. That's where the fight was going to be the hardest. The strategy had to be flexible enough to work for everyone, from those nearing the finish line to those right on the front lines.
Now, what makes this a real plan and not just wishful thinking are the deadlines. The framework sets some incredibly aggressive milestones. 0 local cases in all those low-burden states by 2022, get the entire country's case rate below 1 per thousand by 2024, stop transmission completely by 2027, and then comes the final boss battle. You have to prove it. You have to sustain that 0 case status for 3 straight years to finally get that official eliminated certification in 2030. No easy task.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time on malaria, but let's not forget this is a 6-front war. So Section 5, fighting other vector foes. Let's see how the strategy is tailored for all those different diseases.
This is where the intelligence of the program really shines. For Kala-Azar, the vector, the sandfly, had become resistant to the old insecticides. So what do? You adapt, you bring in new chemicals, and you actively search for cases. But for Japanese encephalitis, the mosquito that carries it actually rests outdoors, so spraying inside houses is completely useless. The strategy has to pivot entirely, focusing on vaccinating children and fogging outdoors. It's the same overarching program, but the tactics are tailored to the enemy's specific behavior. It's so smart.
And these tailored strategies just keep coming. To break this cycle of filariasis, the plan uses something called mass drug administration, basically treating the entire eligible population in a high-risk area all at once, for 5 years. Since dengue and chikungunya are spread by the same mosquito, you can fight them with a unified control strategy. And for Kala-Azar, they even use financial incentives for both the health workers and the patients. It's a really clever nudge to make sure every case is found and every treatment is completed.
So let's step back for our final section. The takeaway, a nation's health mission. When you look at the whole picture, what you really see is just the sheer scale and audacity of this thing. It's an incredible lesson in what's possible when a public health strategy is unified, when it's adaptable, and when it's relentlessly driven by data. In the end, for malaria at least, the entire framework, all the planning, all the effort, it all points to a single, powerful number, 2030. And that's not just some date on a calendar. It's a promise. It's a deadline to achieve something many people thought was impossible, a nation of 1.4 billion people finally free from locally transmitted malaria. Which really just leaves us with one final, crucial question. What does it actually take to win a war against an enemy that lives in our own homes, an enemy that can evolve faster than we can react? Well, the NVBDCP is India's incredibly ambitious answer.